Hey guys, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget and the ATM. Today is September 15th, 2016. It looks like we got several questions already on the events page. It's good. We're going to go ahead and jump right into that. Let me grab the screen, guys, and we will get into it. So bear with me 1 minute. All right, you guys should be seeing my screen now. And we're going to start with the questions right at the bottom and work our way up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the schema stuff. If you guys have any questions about that, I recommend that you post them on the page now, and I will get to it. We're going to talk a little bit about schema because Brian wanted me to, and I've got to do some more testing with the schema code. You know, it just was released, it just made available a couple days ago, and I haven't had enough time to test with various build types. So I don't know, I don't have a lot of data. I don't have any data to talk about yet as far as the effectiveness of it. I'm sure it's going to help, but I just haven't had the time to get into and build sites using schema yet, and I have not trained my builders to use that yet either. So it'll probably be a couple weeks before I have any data for that, but we will definitely revisit it once I have. So we're going to go ahead and start right at the bottom with Justin. Let me zoom in on this for you guys a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, hopefully that's good. Justin says, hey Brian. Who's Brian? I'll answer the question for you anyways, Justin. A couple of months ago, you said that you were rebuilding hundreds of de-indexed sites and you were rebuilding them on expired domains. I'm just wondering, how are those sites doing in terms of income and indexing? Not so well, Justin. I've had some issues with indexing over the last few months with, in part, I think there was a plugin issue. I was using a security plugin that for some reason was causing indexing issues on ATM sites. It's a plugin that I use for money sites like, you know, client sites and lead gen sites, more traditional type sites. And I've never had any issues with it. But as you probably know, if you don't know, you'll learn. Lead Gadget sites or sites built with the ATM, they kind of play by different rules. They perform differently than a traditional style site. And it's probably just because of the sheer size of them. You know, that's kind of been a mystery to me as to why the sites perform the way they do, like, you know, with indexing and stuff like that. Because with, you know, if we were to apply the same type of build procedures to traditional sites, like, for example, tag pages. Tag pages is not good for traditional sites for SEO. It can cause duplicate content issues and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, but with the ATM sites, tag pages index, and they index well. And so that's where a lot of traffic ends up coming from, is from actually tag pages. So that's just one example of many where the ATM sites just really play by different rules. And again, I think it's just because of the sheer size of them. But yeah, so I was using a security plugin called WP Site Guardian, and it was causing issues on a lot of the sites that we were rebuilding. So I've since used main WP to go in and remove that plugin. And we're also using new domains again, as opposed to just expired domains. And here's the thing: when I tested with a couple different ways of expired domains. If you find a niche relevant domain that was already like a plumbing site, and then you rebuild with plumbing content on it, then it seems to index well. But if you had purchased a domain with an expired domain that had inbound backlink profile that matched the correct topical trust flow category, which is another way that I was purchasing domains, because it made it easier to just buy domains in mass. What I would do is go export the blue chip backlinks trust flow 10 plus domain list, and I would just sort by topical trust flow category 0 and find domains with inbound link profiles that had the topical trust flow category that I was looking for. So for example, business/home and construction, that would be something that I used a lot of. And so I would buy those domains instead of actually having to go look and see what the content was on each of the domains purchased. I didn't care for, you know, as long as the topical trust flow, the inbound link profile was matching what the right category that I was looking for. But those weren't indexing as well. And so, you know, Brian came out and said that he had heard from an inside source that the RankBrain algorithm was actually, you know, basically penalizing domains right off the bat, or just not indexing them well, or not allowing them to index well if new content was added to a previously themed with some other type of niche or topic domain. And it was interesting because with, when you have an inbound link profile that matches the category that you want. So again, for example, business / home and construction and maintenance. That's one of the topical trust flow categories that I look for. Okay. And it was, let's say it was a remodeling site originally, and then you go and put plumbing stuff on it. Although they're similar in that they are both construction-based, home and construction-based topics, it still wasn't indexing as well as if you had purchased and rebuilt, a plumbing site on an old plumbing domain. And so that's really where the issue was coming in. And so we have since just started using new domains because it's easier for the builders to be able to go purchase their own domains and everything without having to sort, and it's just a lot more efficient that way. And we're actually doing much better now. So I'm using the expired domains for like when I'm hand picking certain niches or sites that I want to build, where I'm involved, where I get involved personally. I like to use the expired domains because then I find topically relevant, basically I build the same type of site on there as what there was, the same type of content, in other words, even though it's now an ATM site. But when my builders are doing stuff, they're buying the new domains, and that seems to be working well again. So, as the process changes, which it often does, we update it. So, and again, testing is the best way to learn all that, Justin. And that's really what we do a lot of. So anyway, we've actually kind of slowed down on the ATM building right now because I've got one of my primary builders working on another project. So we're not doing as much at the moment. I need to spend some time working on the schema stuff anyways to play around with it, try to figure out what's the best way to set that up for local business stuff. I don't do any physical products, guys. I know there's a product review schema available inside of the ATM now. It's not something I do, nor is it something that I want to do. So I'm probably not going to be able to advise you guys on that. We're going to have to bring somebody else in for that. But for the local business type schema stuff, I'll certainly have some more data for you once I play with it. And I got to train my builders about, how to do that as well. So I've got to play around with some short codes with that because I need to do several tests when it comes to the schema, the local business schema stuff, because I need to determine whether we want to try to use spin tags or short codes within the schema build itself, or stick with an actual physical location if you have a real business that you're driving leads to. So in other words, instead of having the schema change up on every single page for the local business based on short codes, instead have a static schema, business listing, NAP, name, address, phone number for the business. If you have a business with a legitimate location is what I'm saying. Because I'm wondering if all of those, and this is just a theory at the moment, until I test it, I don't have any data, but if you have a physical location, like it's a legitimate business with a location, and you add the static NAP and make the links clickable and stuff like that, that would be a lot of backlinks, all from one domain, yes, but those are still a lot of citations is what they would be called. And those are structured citations, which are the most powerful type of citation. So I'm with some testing, I'm hoping to see if the ATM sites can even boost the SEO of a money site, of an actual client site or a lead gen site. And it may be, I don't know, without any testing. It's just a hypothesis at the moment, but we will definitely be testing that over the next couple weeks. And we will also be testing using the short codes to modify the location data within the schema, right? Within the local business schema. So to see if swapping it out to where that has specific cities, for example, for the city posts or pages on the site, if that makes any difference. The problem is, and I know there was a question about this on this page somewhere, is if you don't have an actual street address in each location, which we wouldn't, right? For every single post, for every single city, what do we put in there? So, and I haven't really tested with schema in the past to know whether or not removing the street address or just leaving that blank. So in other words, that it would just be, business name and in city, state, and zip with no street address. If that is as effective, or even if that schema will validate, because that's one of the problems with schemas, it's got to validate. And if you remove or leave fields blank, within a structured schema, then a lot of the times it will come back as non-validated or come back with errors if you look at it within the structured data testing tool. And so is that still beneficial to have any schema at all if it's returning error codes? You know what I mean? And that's something, again, that I need to test. So unfortunately, I don't have enough data for you guys. It's been too soon. It was just released a couple days ago. And I certainly didn't have enough time to get into it before today. But I just kind of wanted to plant the seed for the next 2 weeks. Remember, I'm doing these about every 2 weeks now, these webinars. So in 2 weeks from now, I hope to have some more data for you guys. And hopefully that's helpful. But again, if you have any specific questions, if I can answer them today, I will. If not, we will revisit it again in 2 weeks. AJ says, hi, Bradley. You used to recommend to never build on the root because if the root gets de-indexed, use the root in all subs. But more recently, you've changed your approach to this, and now you build on the root as well as 3 to 4 subs. Can you explain why? Yes, AJ, because through testing, we had found, like, for example, I don't typically build on the root for money sites. And when I say money sites, I'm talking about traditional sites like client sites or my own lead gen sites that are not ATM lead gen sites. I'm talking about like your typical smaller sites specific to one city, for example. And so I usually just always build on subdomains for those types of sites because of the very reason that you just mentioned. And that's if the root gets de-indexed, then you lose the subs too. And if the sub gets de-indexed, then you usually don't lose the root, and you can always rebuild on another sub, right? And that solves your problem. In fact, you can even clone a de-indexed site and reinstall it on a different sub. And as long as it wasn't a backlink issue, like, you know, an inbound link, an unnatural link pattern review, then a lot of the times the site will reindex and it will be fine. Okay, just so you know that. But with the ATM sites, again, through testing, we found that the sites that were only built on subdomains with the root left blank were not indexing as well as when building on the root. So now I have the builders build on the root, but then what they do is as soon as the site's been deployed, they log in and they change it to the www.version. Okay, so essentially you set up the site address. That's in the WordPress settings, the general settings. You can change the site address and just add the www. To it. And then you click save, and once you do, it'll force you to log back in again. But then from that point forward, the site will automatically canonicalize to the www.version of the domain, which in Google's eyes still acts as a subdomain. Okay, even though it's still just installed on the root domain within the server, www. Acts as a subdomain. So it still ends up being, it's mocking or mimicking a subdomain is what I should say. Okay, so that's how we do it. And again, through testing, we found that we were getting better indexing rates if we had the root built and deployed first, and preferably indexed first before the subdomains. It seemed to work better. Okay. Christy says, can't make it live at this time, early time, Bradley, but I do appreciate your answers and the recordings. With the new schema for pay per lead generation in a specific metro area with a radius around that area, what do you suggest to use as street address? See, that's what I don't know yet, Christy. I haven't done enough testing. I would assume that if you have pay per lead generation in a specific metro area, the radius around that area, what do you suggest to use as a street address? Well, wherever you select your point for a radius, that's where I would probably do it. So like city center, right? And a lot of times, and that's what I would do. If you don't have a real address that you're going to be using, you know, for that business, like, you know, I do a lot of client work, guys. So I've got a lot of clients that have physical locations, and plus I do a lot of my own lead gen stuff. So I basically set up, you know, PO boxes and use the street address option so that I end up having a Google Maps listing for a lot of my lead gen sites. And so for those, I have a real address that I can use. And so I would just use those. But if you're talking about essentially spamming, and guys, don't think spam is a bad word, okay? It's got a negative connotation, I know, but I love spam, and I spam the hell out of the web all day long, right? So, and that's what we're doing. We're spamming the web, okay? So if you're talking about building a spam lead gen site, then I would suggest probably just finding an address that would be close to city center. So how do you find city center? Well, go to Google Maps and put in your city name, okay? So let's just go to Google Maps real quick, and I'll show you. So I don't know, let's just use Fairfax, Virginia. Okay, so Fairfax, Virginia, and let's see. what I would do is wherever the name is of the city within the map, if you just click on that and you put a data point, like a map pin, that's going to give you, the longitude and latitude and an address. And what you can do is zoom in from Street View. It's right, because where Google places the name, that's where they determine is city center, right? So basically the center of the area. So what I'll do is just drop a pin in there, and then you can go to Street View and actually kind of do a look around it and find a building or something and click on it, and it'll give you the address. And then I would just select one of those addresses. Remember, if we're doing this for spam purposes, you just need to find something. I would look for something close to city center. Let Google tell you what that center is, and then just select an address and stick it in there. And then I would choose to hide the schema on the site if that's the case. Or if you're going to use the WP overlay, nobody's going to see it anyways, right? Or the layer beta plugin, nobody's going to see the underlying text anyway. So I guess it wouldn't matter. Okay, but that's how I would do it. All right, Paramjeet says, in search results, I see local sites showing up with star ratings. I'm assuming that stars show because of schema. Yes, that's what that is. If yes, then posts of our lead gadget sites will also show up with the star rating in search. Well, it only does that if you have reviews to point to, though. Okay, here's the thing. The star ratings, guys, a lot has changed recently with that, because there is structured data spam, and Google does not like that. In fact, you can get a manual penalty for structured data spam. And so it used to be where as long as you added code, and you could add structured data code that said, like 4.8 out of 5 stars, and it would show stars underneath your listing, even if you had no reviews for the business whatsoever. You were literally spamming the structured data, right? You were just adding code in there to make review stars show. And it used to show, it used to work really, really well. And it probably still does work, but Google has gotten a lot better at identifying spam, structured data spam, and then penalizing sites for it. So I don't typically do that. Review stars especially. Like that review star spam is what they really don't like. So I recommend that you don't bother doing that unless, I wouldn't even attempt it, Paramjeet, unless you have an actual business that has real reviews and you're pointing to those reviews within the structured data. And if that's the case, then yeah, feel free to do so. And yes, the review stars will show up. But I don't recommend spamming review star stuff because most likely your site will end up getting penalized for that, or possibly de-indexed, especially if the algorithm identifies your site as having potential structured data spam, and then somebody comes and manually reviews, it'll absolutely be de-indexed. So I would recommend not doing that. Okay. So review stars, if you're doing physical products, again, I don't do any physical product work, guys. So I know very little bit about it. But if you're doing physical products, and like, for example, Amazon products, and there's reviews on the Amazon, product pages, then those review stars can also show up in search. But that would be a legitimate reason to have review stars, right? But with local businesses, unless you're pointing to an actual business that has a real profile and has real reviews that you can point to on the web, I wouldn't recommend doing it. Now, again, I haven't tested any of this, guys. You might be able to get away and get some good results with you doing it. But again, for traditional type sites, I stay away from any type of review star spam, okay, because I know it can cause problems. Christy says, also with the new schema for local paper lead generation in a specific metro area and surrounding radius, what schema markup do you recommend out of the business, product, article, review, map, video, and same as? So far, all I've messed with, very limited, was business. Let's see, map. What schema markup do you recommend out of the business product? Let's go take a look at tools. Oops, excuse me, short code, schema types. See, I see business, article, review, and product. So let's just take a look at this. Okay, so this is the business schema. Let's go take a look at one other thing. Article. That's pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to look at this much, but that's cool. Now we can mark up the article body too. That's really cool. That's going to help a lot, even if we're not doing local business stuff, which I haven't played with that enough yet. But marking up just the article alone, that's going to help. That's pretty powerful. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Now I don't see any video. Let's see. What about same as? Let's go back to. So I'm curious if there's probably training on this that Dawn did, which I haven't been through, and I can get with Marco. Marco's my partner, and he's the one that coded all this schema stuff in anyways, but I want to get with him. Are we supposed to be adding like video object schema manually, or because I'm not seeing it in my dashboard is what I'm saying. There should be a video markup a video object markup tool already, I would assume, but I don't see it in my dashboard. Also, we could add it manually, but that kind of defeats the purpose. Also, there's as you mentioned, same as. There should be some fields here for that. I'm not seeing any same as fields. It would be nice to have those in here. I mean, again, we can add them manually to the code and then click save, but that kind of defeats the purpose. It'd be nice to have some fields here for same as attributes, which means you would only use same as attributes if you're doing these sites for a real business, and then they have social profiles on the web. You can use same as to point to social profiles like Google Plus pages, Facebook, Twitter. You can point to citations like, business listings like Yelp, for example, Yellow Pages, Angie's List, that kind of stuff. Those are all really good to use as same as attributes, but I don't see those fields here. So to be honest with you, maybe you're asking about adding it manually. Let's see what are the different marketing scenarios. Let's see, wait a minute. What schema markup do you recommend out of the business, product, article? Yeah, I mean, again, if you're doing a product, use product. Article, you can mark up every article now, right? So your article body within the post itself can be marked up. And I recommend doing that, at least testing with it, because that should be really, really powerful. I don't have any data yet, so I can't, say either way, but I'm sure it's going to be very powerful because based on, I use a lot of schema on traditional sites, and it helps a lot. Product, so the business data, that's the one I'm going to be playing with the most. That and article apparently, and map, I don't see that. Video, I don't see that, and same as, I don't see that. So I'll get with Marco on that and find out why we don't have fields for that yet. Maybe we can add those in. Anyways, I'll have to get back to you on that, Christy. The next one is, what are different marketing scenarios when you would use different available schema markups for business? Well, okay, so maybe you're not understanding, Christy, what schema is then. Okay, so for example, a product markup would be specifically about like a physical product, okay? Or if you're reviewing, it could be an info product, it could be a virtual product, digital product, doesn't matter. But what you're doing is reviewing that product, right? And so, and it's essentially, it identifies what it is, the product, and then you can give it review stars and all that kind of, so it's basically markup for that. Article markup can be used for any type of content. It's just marking up the article itself, right? So you can have the business markup on a post and then also mark up the article body within the post, right? And that, so now you got structured data for that entire page, right? You'd have the article body marked up, and then you'd have the NAP, local business data, markup at the bottom, or wherever you decide to put it. I'm putting it at the bottom. Then the video schema, that's video object schema. You wouldn't use that in one scenario over another. It's just if you have a video. If you have a video on your page, you mark it up with structured data as a video object, right? And here, let me show you guys a place where you can find that. Let's see, try this. It should be Systrix. It's a weird name. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. This is a tool you can use to mark up the video object. This will create the structured data, the microdata for you. This is called the Systrix, systrix.com/video SEO, video rich snippet generator for schema.org markup. You just paste the YouTube URL in here and click generate code, and it'll spit out the microdata. And I'm curious, but let me just post this on the events page real quick. Let's see, this is the Systrix video markup tool. All right, this will, I'll mark up the object. So again, Christy, I think you maybe don't grasp the full concept of this, because like a video object just means you would mark up the video itself within the post body. Okay, so this isn't, you wouldn't use just video markup in one marketing scenario and then article body markup in another scenario. You would use them all together, right? You would try to mark up everything on the page if possible, right? So if you've got an article body, which you will, with a video inside the article body, you mark up the article body and you also mark up the video object, right? And then you have your NAP business data. And same as is only, you only use same as part of a local business structured data, right? Does that make sense? Same as, again, is just pointing to other profiles on the web for that same business. It's essentially telling Google, hey, Google, we are this entity here as well. We're this entity on Facebook. We're the same entity on Twitter. We're the same entity on Google Plus, on YouTube, on Yelp, on blah, blah, blah. Go on down the list. So same as, you would never use that by itself, right, as a standalone markup. It only is a markup that goes into the structured data markup for local business, right, for NAP stuff. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, the Systrix, let me see, let's just grab a video real quick. We'll go to one of the Lead Gadget videos. Let's see if we can find one. Wow, there's a lot of videos recently. ClickFunnels Certified Partners Webinar. Let's go with that one. Copy link address. If we come over here, we paste the URL in, click generate code. There you go. There's your markup, right? So that's your video object markup. So what's interesting here is I wonder if we could, probably not, because you can see there's like, what I'm thinking in my head, guys. So I'm having my own internal conversation. What I'm looking at here is I was wondering if we could use the video object markup and then just put short codes in for the actual video object, the video ID, the YouTube video ID. What do I mean by that? Look, if I open this up, pause it. The video ID is this string of numbers right after, or characters right after the V equals. That's the video ID number. Okay, and so you could spin video ID numbers together from videos that you scraped, for example, and then put them into the spin tags. Put a short code in there. Create a short code from the spun video IDs and then put that into this code, and that would swap out the videos and they would all be marked up. However, there's specific markup that, or data that is specific to that video and to each video that's actually pulled from the YouTube URL itself. And so again, it would have to, I don't think that would work because otherwise you'd have to have short codes for each one of these other things. And I don't think that's really feasible. So I'm not sure how this would work unless you're using just one video across all your pages, which is still better than no video, in my opinion. So you could do that. You could just use one video, and then you could probably swap out the name or something like that and get your keywords in there and use a short code for that, so that it might be the same video, but at least on every page it would have a different keyword as your video title. That might be something. Again, these are all things that I need to test. Okay, so I haven't had a chance to play with this structured data stuff enough yet, but I'll certainly do so, and we'll get back to that one as well. But this is a nice video rich snippet generator. It's free, so. Okay, AJ says, Bradley, you mentioned an August 18th Q&A that you wait to activate the overlayer until your sites are indexed. Most of the training in the ATM advises to activate the overlayer immediately at cleanup. Do you think it matters as far as getting the sites indexed if you wait or not to activate the overlayer? I don't know, AJ. I just typically don't. It's just my own personal preference. You guys just test, AJ. Test it. If you deploy a batch of sites, let's say you build 10 sites today, put 5 of them, wait to do 5 of the, on 5 of them, wait to activate the overlayer until after they've indexed. On the other 5, activate it right away, and then just track your results and see which ones index faster or better. And see, there might not be any difference at all. It's just a personal preference. I typically don't like to put the overlayer on until at least we have some indexed pages or posts, whatever, for the site, some indexed results. That's just the way that I did it. I've asked my builders to do that. So they build all the sites, they do all the cleanup, they submit for indexing, and then they go back a week later and then go through the sites that they submitted the week previously, check indexing rates. The ones that are indexed, they'll activate the overlayer and then add the landing page. And then that's it. The ones that aren't indexed, I'll tell them to resubmit for indexing. Okay. So that's just a personal preference. I have not done any testing. Guys, my standard answer is going to be test. You know, I test what I can when I can, but I can't do all of it. A lot of these types of things, again, I would just recommend setting up your own test and track results, right? Ray says, can you also update us on your indexing rate? Wow, it's a common theme. A few weeks ago, you said your security plug. Yeah, well, okay, we've already been through that in an earlier post, an earlier question. Any new recommended service for faster indexing? No. I've been hearing for 2 months from Brian that Dawn has some cool thing that he's been doing for indexing. And I've been asking for 2 months to get that information, and I still don't have it. So I don't know. Like I said, I've been more worried about testing different types of domains for indexing. That's what I'm finding it has the most impact on the indexing rates is the domain itself. So again, it's been between using expired domains that were already topically relevant, or using expired domains that had inbound links with the proper topical category, and then using new domains. But I'm not using .xyz's at all. I'm using top level domains only, .coms, .nets, .orgs, period. Whether they're expired or brand new, I'm just using top level domains now. And I'm finding right now, brand new domains are indexing better than expired domains, except for expired domains that had the same topical relevance that we're going to be building the site on. Not topical category and not inbound link profile, but the actual site itself, right? Again, so an expired plumbing domain, building a plumbing lead gen site on it, or ATM site, I mean, then that seems to work even better than just brand new domains. But brand new domains are working better than just finding domains that have inbound link profiles that match the category we're looking for. Okay. That's just what's happening right now. Again, that could all change in 3 weeks. You know, who knows? So it's just a matter of keep testing different things all the time. Next one, AJ, can you show an example? Okay. Yeah. I saw this earlier when I was looking at the event page, and yeah, we can go through that. Don might get mad at me though, because I hesitate to show this to you guys, because a lot of people are going to make mistakes with this, and it's going to slow down their builds, or it's going to hang them up in the ATM because they missed a spin bracket or something, or a comma, and then they're going to complain, and then Don's going to get mad at me because I showed you guys this. So I'm not sure that I should show this to you. I will, but I'm not, please guys, if you make mistakes in your own code when you employ or implement some of this stuff, don't say, well, Brad told us to do this, because I recommend you follow the building procedure that Don and Brian suggest, guys. They're the guys that, have been behind this product forever. And so I recommend I'm not saying AJ's a novice. I'm saying if you're just starting out, just stick with the builds the way they show how to do it. Once you've become a bit more advanced, and again, AJ, I'm not speaking to you, I'm talking in general now to the whole group. And once you become a bit more advanced, I do recommend testing and playing around with different configurations and stuff, right? I mean, I just think that's, I think everybody should be testing and pushing the limits and that kind of stuff. That's just the way I think you should conduct your business. If you want to try to learn new things and find tactics that work better than others, that kind of thing. But when you're just starting out, just stick with whatever it is that Dawn and Brian show. And then here is like what I do for tags. Again, don't let this, I don't want Dawn getting pissed about this. So if you guys make mistakes, don't say it was my fault and blame me. All right. All right. So we're going to say tag 1. Okay. It'll make sense in a minute, guys. I know my screen's probably a little bit. We'll just do 3 sets of tags right now, okay? Just for speed's sake. Say tag 21. All right. So what I would do is spin these together. Like this is what I do, guys. When I create my keyword list, which I always do whenever I'm building a site, building sites, I have, my builders will do all this stuff for me now, but we generate the keyword list, which we end up usually with anywhere between, depending on the niche, anywhere between, I'd say it's on average about 300 to 400 keywords. Okay, so and I've been through the keyword process, how I generate keywords many times already. So we're not going to go through that right now. What we will go through is how to, once we generated the keyword list, let's say I've got 400 keywords. Then what I do is I divide 400 by, 13 or 11? Damn it, see, it's been so while. Hold on a minute. Let me pull open my calculator. I want 12 groups of keywords of 12, because I always add about 12 tags to the ATM site builds, right? So it's 12 tags per post. So what I do is I end up taking the entire keyword list. I divide it by 11, I think, which makes 12 groups of keywords. And then from there, I create spin tags out of each one of those groups. So I spin all of the keywords together in each group. And then I add the spin tags together with the commas like you would normally with tags, so that when the ATM is building the site, it's going to randomly pick one keyword out of each spin tags group, which is a total of 12 spin tags groups, so that you get a really random set of tags on every single post. Okay, and again, I know that because people will make mistakes with the code, then it will slow down. And if you make a mistake setting this up, it will break the site. Like your site won't deploy. It'll time out on you. And so just keep that in mind. You got to be real careful when you do it. It's real simple, but you just got to make sure that all your spin tags is set up correctly. Your commas in the right place, that kind of stuff. So hold on a minute. Let me say 400 divided by, let's say 11. I think that gives me 12 groups of keywords, which would be 36, about 36 or 37 keywords per group. Okay, so what I'm saying then is this would be, say, my entire list would be 400. Let's do this. Let me open this up. Let's just do this. This will make more sense. I'll go through the actual process. All right, so let's say 400 keywords is what I ended up with. Okay, so you guys see that? Let me zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, you guys should be able to see this better. So let's say I've got 400 tags here. Then what I do, like I said, divide it by 11. And this doesn't have to be an exact number, guys. It just gives you a point of reference. So let's say 36 or 37 keywords per group. Then I would scroll down. I would go to where it says 36 or 37. I would just enter and insert a blank line. Okay. Then I would add another 37. So, 36 or 37 again. So we go somewhere around 72. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect, guys. So you just got to get in the right ballpark area. So I just go somewhere in here and just open it up and insert another blank. And then I do it again, right? And that's what we do. So another 37 will put me up like what, around 110 roughly. So I'm going to put another one. So that would put me at what, about 147, 148, somewhere around there. Insert another one. And that's what I do throughout the entire list. And then from there, all I'll do is grab the actual list down to each, oops, I just hit caps lock, down to each break, right, to each line break. And then I'll go to a spin tags generator. So there used to be one that we were using called Get Spin Tags, but I think that has stopped working. So there's another one now that I'm using called indexbear.com. I know the guy that behind IndexBear is Jacob Hagberg. And so this is just a free spin tags tool that you can use. What I do is turn this down, this down, this down, put this up, and I paste this in, remove that blank space that Excel always adds at the bottom, and click Generate Spin Tags, and then boom, there we go. So we copy this. We just want to copy that to clipboard, and if we came over and put it into a notepad file, which is what we do, we keep a record of every single site build inside of notepad files, every single site build, okay? So right here, what we have is we have the spin tags for that group of tags, so that group of keywords, right? So that would have been, those would all been keywords, by the way, guys. I just titled them tags, but they would have been keywords that were generated through our keyword research. Then what we're going to do is add, let's say, city, state, short. our short code there, then we put a comma and a blank, right, or a space, I mean, and then we add our next batch of tags. So from there, we would go from here, we'd go ahead and pick up 37 through 73, copy that, come back over here, add it in, remove the blank, hit generate spin tags, copy that, come back over here, paste it in, then we'd add the space, city, state, short, comma, right? So that's, or whatever spin tag, and if that, you don't need a space there. Or do you? I can't remember. No, you don't need a space there. You don't want a space after the comma. So what I would do is just pick up the short code here. Well, with the comma, let's go ahead and copy it with the comma. And we're going to paste that here. And then we would repeat the process again for the next one, right? You guys get it. I don't think I need to do it again. I just would go through and copy the next batch, the next group, create spin tags, go add it to right after the comma. That's right. There shouldn't be a blank space there. So it'd be right after the comma, add the next group of short codes, spin tags, and then add the short code again with the comma, and then do it again. And you just do that for the entire thing. And once you're done, you just copy the whole entire batch, which will be a lot depending on how many keywords you have, but you end up copying the entire thing and then pasting that in as tags. And what that does is every time it builds, it will go select one keyword out of each group, each spin tags group. So in this case, it's tag 1 through tag 20. That's interesting. Why is that? Did I grab it from the wrong sheet? Maybe. Anyways, for this group, it would grab one tag out of there. It would create a tag out of the keywords. It would append the short code, and then it would do that for all 12 groups in this case, right? So you end up with 12 keywords or 12 tags, but it's very, very unique for every single post because it's selecting one at random per keyword spin tags group, and there's roughly 37 keywords in each one of those spin tags groups. So you can see that it's really random at that point. Okay, so that's how I do it. And I like to do that because that way I get much more diversity in my tag pages, which tag pages, as I mentioned earlier in today's webinar, they rank well for ATM sites. For traditional sites, tag pages are not a good idea unless you know how to use them. But for ATM sites, tag pages rank like crazy. In fact, most of the traffic comes from tag pages. So that's why I like to get all my keywords, the entire list of keywords, like 400 keywords, into my tags. It only selects 12 for any one post. It selects 12 at random out of 400 keywords. Does that make sense? So it gives a really, really diverse set of tags. And that seems to be one of our biggest traffic generators. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, we're going to keep rolling. Okay, Braulio. Hi, Bradley. I'm interested to know how many keywords you target per site. How do you find your focus keywords, and how do you scale your next set of keywords? Let me give you an example on the basement waterproofing niche. Site 1, my main starting keyword will be basement waterproofing because Google suggested results are just keyword plus city, one after another. Then I target 10 other keywords on the site. Okay. Site 2, for my second focus keyword, should I also look for another that has local results? Well, you can. I mean, so I've mentioned this before. I use Power Suggest Pro. In fact, I have that open because I always do. But what I would do is change your search engine to Google, and then, you know, again, I go through keyword research all the time, but we can go through this again. Whoops. So I always start with trends, guys. This is where I always start with trends. Okay, so like, for example, you're going to say basement waterproofing. Depending on where you're targeting, I like to change from worldwide to United States. So I'd always change my targeting to target United States. If I'm going after a state or a region specifically, you can narrow down even further. Like I'm going with the whole United States. If you're building a national site build, that's what you want to do. If you want to go, if you're doing a local site, like a statewide site, or even a city site, like a city specific site, then if you click this arrow over here, you can go select by state. If you want to narrow it down even further, then you click the arrow again, and it will show you the available regions within the state. So for example, if I want to go over to Virginia, if I want to target the whole state of Virginia, I just click Virginia. If I want to narrow down even further, drill down even further, I click the arrow, and now these are the different regions, the metro areas that I can target within the Virginia data set. Okay, does that make sense? But I'm going to leave it as national, right, United States. And then I'll scroll down and you're going to see, and by the way, you can compare up to 5 keywords at a time up here, guys. So I usually start with the main seed term, and then I go look at the results that it returns. And then I will start selecting other seed terms, right? Other seed terms, which are typically going to be longer tail supporting type keywords. And then I will go drill down on each one of those keywords, both in Trends and in Power Suggest Pro, right? And then Power Suggest will give me my long tails based on those seed terms. That's how I generate a 400 keyword, roughly 400 keywords for my site builds, okay? So in this case, basement waterproofing, you can see if we come down here, you're going to see related queries. Now, by default, the interface has changed in Trends just recently. By default, it's showing you the rising terms. What rising terms means are these keywords have had a significant increase in search interest since the last time they, indexed the data or whatever, assessed the data. Okay. But if you click on this drop down, you can go to top. Top is going to give you the top rated or top related keyword phrases based on historical data. Historical data means over time, these have been consistently related, keywords that have shown up as related keyword phrases based upon the seed term consistently over time. Now, depending on what you have your timetable set at, right now, this is showing past 5 years. You can change your time tables too. So how much data is shown within this result. You can go 2004 to present, which is 2004 is when they first started keeping track of this data. So you can go all the way back to 2004, or you can leave it default past 5 years, or you can say, like, let's just say the past 12 months, for example. Okay. And so just remember, the narrower you make your time, the less data you're going to have. So if we go to past 5 years, we'll leave it at that. I typically leave it to default, but I'll come down here and under related queries, I'll go to top first and I'll go through there and I'll start selecting additional keywords out of here that make sense. They have to be relevant. One thing I do like about the new change in Trends is Trends only used to show 10 results, up to 10 related queries. Now they show up to 25. So you do get a lot more keyword data now out of Trends than you used to. So I definitely like that. That's an improvement. But what I'll do is I'll just go through and start selecting the keywords out of here. Some of them aren't going to be relevant to me. So I don't, we just ignore those. But the ones that we do, for example, foundation waterproofing, that's a great keyword, right? And it's showing that there's, it's got a 75% relevancy score based upon the seed term, and it's showing that there's a lot of interest. There's 75% of the interest level of this seed term, basement waterproofing, foundation waterproofing. So that's 3 out of 4, right? I mean, that's essentially saying it's got a high search interest based upon that seed term. So foundation waterproofing would be another great term. Basement wall waterproofing, another great term. Waterproofing basement, right? These are all great terms that I would select and add to my list. Right. And then what we could do is drill down in each one of those further. So for example, foundation waterproofing, if we come back up here, we go to this, we can say foundation waterproofing. And now we can compare these two. Excuse me. Let's make sure I spell it correctly. We can compare these two side by side. Now it's going to show, okay, so this is showing that basement waterproofing has got a lot more search interest than foundation waterproofing. However, I still think that would be a great term to target. And then again, now we can scroll down and we'll see foundation waterproofing. Guys, you can do this with up to 5 keywords at a time. If you need to do more than that, just open another instance in another tab, right? And you can start all over. So you can end up comparing, up to 10 terms. But then you can scroll down here and go to the related queries, go to top, start scrolling through here, and you'll find even additional keywords that you can target, right? And then I look at both top and rising. Okay, so now I started off with top, but then you can go to rising, and you can find rising keywords like basement waterproofing specialist. That's had a 450% increase in search interest since the last time they updated the data, right? And so that means that's a significant increase. So I'd go ahead and build after that because apparently that's becoming a trending keyword, right? That's why this is called Google Trends. So my point is I'd go in and I'd just select I'd start identifying keywords using Trends. Then once I've identified the keywords that I'm going to use as seed terms, which again, I just use trends for all this. Then I come in here and I start drilling into them with Power Suggest Pro. You can use any sort of keyword suggest scraper that you want. This is my favorite. This is the one that I use. I love this tool. So then you would say, let's say basement waterproofing. I know that's your seed term, but you could start taking any of your additional terms that you found from trends and start drilling into them. And then what I like to do is click search, and then you'll see how quickly it starts spitting out keywords. And then I would let it run through its entirety. We're already at 200 keywords in about 10 seconds. But I would let this run through its entirety. And then what I do is just copy all and paste them into a spreadsheet. And then I have my, either I do it or my VAs will go through and eliminate any keyword that's really not relevant. Okay, but then we keep all the other ones. And what I like to look for is this: if I paste a seed term in here and I click search or start, and I see it start spitting out any sort of keyword combination with a local modifier, so a location or a city name, then I know I've got a winner for an ATM site, right? And guys, this applies to affiliate products and everything else. If you're looking for really good potentially really good sites to build with the ATM, just start plugging keywords into Power Suggest Pro or whatever tool it is that you use that shows suggested keyword phrases. Start plugging keywords in and clicking search and see the results. Very quickly, it'll start to show you if it's returning a lot of localized results, a lot of keyword plus local modifier. And if that's the case, boom, you've got a perfect keyword to build an ATM site for, because that's all we're doing is a keyword focused site with local modifiers appended, right? So that's why I love this tool, is because I can very quickly go through a list. I could have 15 or 20 seed terms that I've identified from trends and go plug them in here and click search. And within a matter of seconds, I can determine whether that's a good keyword to target as a focus keyword for an ATM site build. All the other terms that maybe not provide a local modifier through the suggested search results, but are still relevant keywords, those become tags then, right? Those are the ones that you want to use as tags. But any keyword that returns results with local modifiers, those should be used as focus or primary keywords to build a site around. Does that make sense? So you build a site with keywords that provide local modifiers, that come back from suggested search with local modifiers. You make those primary keywords, build your site focusing on one keyword, which would be your site title essentially, right? And then you build all the tags from all the remaining keywords that are relevant but don't provide local modifiers, right? That's how I do it, because you can identify keywords. Look at that, I got 634 keywords. Sometimes, guys, you'll run this and you'll get 1,500 keywords. So I got 634. Now, a lot of these are going to be deleted because they're going to have, if they're brand terms, for example, like this one, I know it's probably hard for you guys to see, but it says Be Dry Basement Waterproofing, Richmond, Virginia. Well, that's a brand search. We don't want that, so we eliminate that from the list. But, and anything that has like a city name after it, we'd actually delete the entire keyword phrase or just delete the modifier, right? So we would still use the keyword, but we would delete the modifier because we're going to append the modifier with the short codes through the ATM deployment anyways, right? So hopefully that makes sense. But that's how I do it, Braulio, that's how you ask me how I determine which sites or which keywords to do. I always select, I start off with the seed term, in this case, basement waterproofing. Then I identify my other supporting keywords and other terms related to basement waterproofing using trends. Then once I've built that seed set, which can be anywhere between, 5 to 20 keywords on average, then I'll go start plugging those keywords into this tool and start drilling down. And I do this all on a spreadsheet, guys. So for example, in here, I'll put seed term 1, which in this case would be basement waterproofing, right? Then seed term 2, then seed term 3, and all of those. So let's say I had, let's say I had a total of 8 seed terms, right? So here we got 8 seed terms. Then after I've drilled down on each one of them, so we know that this one was basement waterproofing, what I would do is just copy all, paste that right here into this column. And I usually use Google Drive for this stuff, not Excel, but it doesn't matter. Then I would go through and eliminate the keywords that don't make any sense or that aren't relevant, right? So we go through and clean this list out, this column out, to where the results, the ending results, what we're left over are just the keywords that I want to use as supporting keywords for that seed term. Does that make sense? Then I'll do the same thing with seed term 2 and do it with all 8. So I end up with this huge freaking list of keywords, right? And each one, and I would base this site build off of basement waterproofing because that was my primary seed term. And then I would use all of these as supporting keywords, as basically tags. Tags, and I also create a keyword short code that I use is like alt text for images, or I'll plug it into an H3 tag in the actual content body of the post. I'll plug a keyword short code in to an H3 tag, or excuse me, an H3 heading tag. Does that make sense? An H3 heading, so that I get a keyword into a heading tag on the page itself, right? And it'll be at random from all the keywords that were left in here. Does that make sense? So, and then a lot of these are going to have overlap. Some of these are going to have overlap. So, for example, we had foundation waterproofing was another one. Foundation waterproofing. Click search, and here you'll get a whole nother new list and seed set of terms. And so what I'll do is, a lot of the times, if they're closely related enough, which a lot of the times they will be, once I've cleaned this list, like I said, there was what, 600 and some odd keywords here. I'd clean this list. I'd go clean out each one of these lists. I'd end up with a really good set of keywords for each one of these builds. And then if you really wanted to, if all your seed terms were closely related enough, you could even take the entire list from all 8 terms, plug it into one single column, and then do a remove duplicates, right? So go to data and then remove duplicates, and remove any duplicates within that column. And you end up with one master set that sometimes can be, 800, 1,000, 1,200 keywords long, right? And that's pretty impressive. So that's typically how I'll do it. But that's how I determine how to build sites. I always focus one primary keyword per site build, and then I back it up with supporting. Okay. Okay. Brooks says, can you explain why we should build 10 sites when developing a group? I don't know, Brooks. Who said that? Typically, we build anywhere between 15 to 30 sites per group. I don't know who said 10. Just pick a number, Brooks. Play with it. I mean, that's why, I just mentioned with this, for example, let's say that I had 8 seed terms, right? Then I would probably build 8 sites. I would absolutely build 8 sites. That's why we have 8 seed terms. But then what I like to do is, from within the remaining, the keywords, once this list has been cleaned, I'll go through and I'll find other keywords within this one group. So, for example, column A here, I'll find other keywords that I might, like say 2 or 3 other keywords from this one column that I want to build additional sites on, and I'll use that keyword as the focus keyword. So if I have 8, let's say that I pick 2 additional, I build one on the seed term, and then I build 2 additional keywords or 2 sites from the keyword list here, right? So I select 2 other keywords from this list, and I build a site for each one of those keywords as the primary keyword. So that would give me a total of 3 sites for this column, 3 sites for this, all the way across these 8 columns. I'd end up with 24 sites. Does that make sense? So that's how I do it. So what I would do is just go scroll through here and look for other keywords. Like, for example, basement waterproofing contractors. You can see that there's a few versions of that here. Another one, there's even more of basement waterproofing companies. You see that? There's a whole bunch of basement waterproofing companies here with local modifiers appended. Well, I'd absolutely build a website with, an ATM site with basement waterproofing city, right? City short code. But then I would also now, because I'm seeing a lot of results being returned from this suggested search phrases here, basement waterproofing companies in, then city short code, or just basement waterproofing companies, city short code, right? Because I'm seeing that result coming back multiple times here. So that's a good term to target, right? And that's a longer tail version of that same site build that we just built on for basement waterproofing city. Basement waterproofing companies in city. It's a longer tail version, right? So that's all I'll do is just scroll through here and find additional keywords that have, let's see, I'm trying to see another one in here. specialists. Here's another one. See this basement waterproofing specialists, and then there's a group, a block right here of keywords that say basement waterproofing specialists. So that would be another, that would probably be another term that I would build after. So I just look for patterns in the data, guys. And when I see a block of keywords that have, it's repeated and the only thing that's different is the local modifier, that's a perfect keyword to build a site on, right? That's a perfect keyword to build a site on, because Google's telling us that there are a lot of search queries with that exact long tail phrase. And the only thing that changes or is unique is the actual city name. So that's what I want to build on. Okay. So here's another one. Look at this. Exterior basement waterproofing, right? Those don't have city modifiers though, but that might be another good one to try, because I'm seeing that come up multiple times. It doesn't look like it has a local modifier, but it's coming up multiple times. So let's see. That's pretty much it. So there, I mean, I found a couple of them: companies, contractors, that kind of stuff. And then I do the same thing with seed term 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay. All right, guys, we're out of questions, and that's good timing because it's been an hour. So we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Like I said, I'm going to do a lot more testing with the structured data over the next few weeks. I don't know that I'm going to have a whole lot of data in the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty scheduled out and booked out right now, but we are going to be playing with it and, you know, testing some different configurations and seeing what kind of results we can get. And so I will be updating as we proceed. And so hopefully that will be helpful. If you guys have any additional questions, remember to post them on the events page when I create it. And you guys will be notified within the Facebook group when the event page is set up. And you can post your questions ahead of time. And I appreciate everybody showing up today, or at least posting questions, whether you're here or not. I don't care. It gives me something to talk about during these webinars. So I do appreciate the questions, and I look forward to answering more of them. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Happy building.